Okay, we're back. This is our review of the Wednesday class, second class of the semester. Um, our assumption at this point is that you already have Microstation installed on your computer, or you're going to be working from the PC in the lab, which already has Microstation installed. And the exercise we're going to start out with is an orthographic projection, exercise 20 in your workbook. The isometric view here, which we haven't really talked about isometric views, but this is a three-dimensional representation of the object we're going to draw. We're going to do a top view, a front view, and a right side view. The top being looking at it down from this angle. We're going to be looking at it from this angle for the front and this angle for the right side. We're always looking for the best angle to work from. So I already have the numbers kind of laid out on this. It's basically this is a 12 by 12 by 12 cube, and we're just going to cut out these things as we put them together. But we can outline it as a 12 by 12, and that makes it easy for us to set up our drawing file. So let me minimize this. We can refer to it later on. Excuse me. We'll open up Microstation. Get to our Microstation manager. And we're going to start with a new file. This icon here always indicates new file. In this case, we're going to go to My Documents, and if you don't already have it, this is a good place to start. So we're going to do, you can see I have a CET 120 down here, but I'm going to create a new directory now. It's going to be called CET 120 CJ. I'm going to double click on that. You can see it's empty. We're going to create a new folder here called Projects, and then we're going to create another new folder called Seed or Seeds, and then one more called Utilities. If we double click on the projects file now, keep in mind as you're watching this video you can stop it at any time to do these things and then start the video again. I know you're all used to multitasking, and we're going to give this file a name down here under file name. You'll notice down at the bottom it says seed. Let's go browse this. This is where it's looking for it, and we're going to use the seed2d.dgn file. Normally most new Microstation installations will have these seed files already in place. And we're going to give this a name. We're going to call it seed1 for our first project. Don't know why, but we'll say seed1 for now. Hit enter. Now you can see it's created the seed1 drawing in our projects folder, and we just need to say open. A little slow this morning. Your drawing is going to come up with two views. We only need one, so we're going to delete or close out. We don't really delete it, we're just going to close that second view. Still waiting for something to load up here. There we go. Doesn't want to let me go, so I think something's still loading up on the screen. Well, while I'm waiting for that, I'm going to go to Settings. Oops, I get a little, that's what it is. A little text window there it's wanting me to mess with. Okay, so I got it straightened out. Apparently, there was some snag in my memory. But anyway, I closed out view 2. I'm going to maximize view 1. You can see we have a grid pattern here on the screen. We're going to eliminate that. Go to Settings, View Attributes. You can also notice it has a shortcut key of Control B. And we're just going to uncheck Grid, and that'll eliminate the grid pattern itself. Now we're going to go to Settings and Design File. You can see that our working units in Design File are in meters. We're going to change this to inches. We don't need to worry about the subunits because we're just working in a master unit format. So MU, SU does not come into play. We're just using MUs. So it's going to have an inch, and we'll go to the nearest 2 decimal places. Hit OK. Now it's a good thing to do right now is a Control F. I'm hitting Control F, and if you look down at the bottom left hand portion of the screen, it says Settings Saved, meaning that if I close this out and open it back up again, it's going to come back up in inches, it's going to come back up without a grid, and all of my settings are going to be saved with this particular drawing. So we're working in inches. You can see down at the bottom I have my AccuDraw compass. I can drag that out or I can dock it. You'll notice right now it's in distance angle. As I demonstrated in Monday's class, remember, hitting the spacebar allows me to toggle between XY coordinates and distance angle. In this case, we want to be in XY coordinates. I come over here and hit the little arrow down. You can see here are my drawing tools. In V8i, they've changed the layout of our drawing tools so that we don't have as many flyouts. And we're going to start with our Smart Line tool. Q1 is Smart Line. Just left click on this with your mouse. Come over to the screen, and we're going to left click. We see our AccuDraw compass. As we move this around, you can see it kind of locks at vertical and horizontal axes. As I move it also, you'll notice that the XY coordinate boxes in the AccuDraw flip from X to Y depending on which area I'm going into. In this case, I'm moving to the right, and I'm going to key in a number 12. Left click and then right click. And now I can kind of zoom in on this a little bit with my wheel. We're still in Smart Line, so we're going to uncheck Join Elements. This should not be checked right now for this exercise. I'm doing a little pan. You can also, this is your pan tool up here, so we can pan using this to pan around the screen. Again, zoom in. We can zoom out. We can do a window zoom. We can do a fit view so everything fits in. So for now, we're just going to use this. I'm going to change my line weight to line weight 2. So pay no attention to this right now. I'm just going to change this one. So just so it shows up better on the screen. Go back to the Smart Line tool again. Again, it says no join elements attached. And our AccuSnap is active. Usually is by default. So if I want to start a new line at this endpoint, you see when I get close to it, I see the yellow X. In this case, it snaps to endpoints, either end, and also a center point. So we're going to go to this endpoint. When I see the yellow X, all I have, that's an automatic tentative snap. And I just left click when I see the yellow X, pull it straight down, key in 12, left click. We're going to continue even though these aren't joined line segments. I can either key in 12 or I can hit my enter key. Hitting the enter key locks the axis. Come up here until you see the yellow X, and once I've locked the axis, I can go to any point to match it up. Just left click. Now I'm doing the final line, bring it up to the end point, and left click. Now this is our top view. As I said previously, if we look at the PDF file, we see this is a 12 by 12 by 12 cube that we're working from. So that's what we're going to do. Rather than drawing two more cubes, go to your tool 1, which is your element selection tool, and the two first options should be checked. If you hold down your left mouse button in this upper left hand area and drag it down through the object, the entire cube will select, the entire rectangle or square. Then you can take your 3 tool, 3-1, copy, and it's going to left click anywhere and pull it straight down. Again, your AccuDraw compass comes into play here, so you can just pull it down, leave about 1/3 of a space in between it, and then you can pull it to the right and make another copy over here, approximately the same distance, and now we have the basis for our top, front, and right side view. If we look at the PDF file again, we can see from this top view that we have this L shape, and then it cuts away down to the front. This is actually, in the previous class I called this 3, it's actually 4, so either way I'm not going to take off for that, but we're just trying to get this orthographic. So this is 3 inches in, and then it's 4 inches wide over here. This distance from here to here is 6, and then 6 for the rest of the way, and then vertically it's 6 up. So let's go back and start laying these lines out. We'll zoom into this top view, which is the view on top, and go to our Smart Line tool. Now this is where our tentative point comes into play, our middle wheel button. And what I'm going to do is down here on the bottom of the screen, I'm going to let it see the yellow X and hit my middle mouse button. Whoops, get in the right tool. And I think I need to look at my button assignment. So we go to Utilities. Workspace, Button Assignments, and click on Remap Buttons. You can see my tentative here is set to left button, right button chord. That may be something with the seed file, but I'm just going to left click on this, move my mouse down into the button definition area, and just hit my middle mouse button. Now you see we have a left button, a middle button, and a right button. We just say OK. And then OK again. Now that middle button will work. Smart Line tool, I see this, just middle mouse button. You see the cursor changes to this I, and our first keystroke command letter that we're going to learn in AccuDraw is the O button. O stands for origin, and allows us to set a tentative point and move from that location to a new location. So in this case, I'm hitting the letter O right now. You'll see the compass appear. Just move my mouse to the right, and I'm going to key in 4, and then hit my data button, my left mouse button, and that sets that over 4 inches from the side. I know that this dimension it's 12 minus 3, so I'm just going to key in a number 9. Remember, left hand on the keyboard, right hand on the mouse, left click, pull it to the right now, and if you don't know what the number is, just hit your enter key and then move up to this point, let it snap, left click, and then right mouse button to stop the operation. The next line we're going to do is actually a center point, because we know this is 12 from here to here, so a center point would be at 6. Just left click, pull it straight to the right, hit enter, and let it find this point. We've basically laid out our top view here now, and we'll move down to the front view. So again, this is a video. Stop at any time you want to go try this so that it's fresh in your mind, and then go back to the video and we'll continue on. Okay, now we're going to start on the front view. In this case, what we can do is go up to our level manager, which is this green, blue, and yellow stack at the top. Click on that, and let's create some additional levels. Currently we just have the default, so now we're going to add one called primary. We'll add another one called construction, and then we can add one We'll put dimensions in there. We'll need it sometime. And eventually we're going to want to put in the title block. Let's work in primary right now. And what I'd like to do is just do an edit, select all. Could have done this originally. This number 5 tool, of course it includes a flyout, but it's the change palette. Let's just change the level of everything we've done so far to the primary level. If we look now up here, we can see that primary is the only level that is in bold text, which means that's the only level that has any elements in it right now. So we're going to work in this primary level with our smart line. Again, I should have done that from the beginning, but got a little behind myself. It's always easy to backtrack and just reorganize things so that they are in the proper elevation. So back with our smart line, I'm just going to let it snap to this endpoint with the yellow X. Just left click, bring the line straight down. I know that the sloped portion is actually at 6 inches, and I know that this, if I hit a tentative point, tentative point, hit the O button, go up 3, just pull it to the left. And now what we can do is use some trimming tools in the modification, which is under 7. And we can actually open this up as an open modify toolbox. And what we're going to use is our trim one element to its intersection. So the way this tool works is you select the portion of the line you want to keep, and then you select an element that you want to trim it to. We do the same thing here to this vertical line, here to this vertical line, here to this vertical line. And actually, I think, let's go take a look at our PDF file. A little slow here. Yeah, that's going to be an L shape on the front. So we'll go back to Microstation, and we're going to trim that using trim 2 elements to their intersection, this one to this one. And I believe that pretty much covers the front view. If we change now to our construction lines, and I'm going to use a color yellow so that you can see these things better, and move some tools out of the way. What we want to do is kind of bring these points across from the front elevation. We're just going to extend points any place there's a line intersection. Whoops, sorry. Move things down here. Just going to extend it across. We're going to extend this edge vertically to both sides. Now if I use a spacebar I, is an intersect snap, and spacebar I again, this is only does it for one time and then it goes back to a key point snap. Spacebar I, we come straight down. Spacebar I, we find that intersection and bring it straight down. So now what we can discern from this is the intersection from this point to this point will be the sloped portion. So we're going to go back to our primary tools, select color 0, and I'm going to find the intersection, this tool to here, and then spacebar I, and I can hit the enter key, just find this endpoint, hit enter, and spacebar I, find that endpoint, and let's turn off our construction lines. You can see I'm in primary. If I just left click on this check mark, turns off our primaries, and we can come back now to our trim tools. Probably still have that open. And we can trim this line to this line and this line to this line. And I believe if we look back at our profile, that should be what we see from the right side view. So essentially we're done with these primary views. The only thing I would say now is when we're working with our drawing we're going to create a pen table that uses colors to represent line weights. In other words, the colors will output to black and white, but the first 5 colors of our color table, white, blue, green, red, and yellow, will indicate line weight. White being the thickest, yellow being the thinnest and the grayest. We won't actually do a pen table right now, but I'm going to show you if we use our, whoops, I've already got it open here, delete part of an element. This may seem a little foolish right at the moment, but bear with me for a second. In this top view, for instance, we know that if we extract that top view to the plane of projection, this L shape is the only thing that's actually going to be touching that plane. All of the other lines will be in the background. So if I take my change tool and change the lines that are kind of in the background to green, meaning they're going to be a thinner line weight, and then trimming those back to the intersection point and doing a trim 2 elements to their intersection, now we're going to see that L shape very prominent on the drawing. The green will actually show up as a little bit thinner line style, indicating it's kind of in the background. We'll do the same thing now for the front elevation, whereas this is in the primary view, this is in the primary view, this L shape is actually going to be in the front. We go to our 5 tool, change the color of these background elements, retrim it, and then trim these 2 elements to their intersection. In other words, we're trimming both of those. We would see this in this profile, and then on the last one we'll do the same thing again. We're going to break an element, break this line into 2 segments, this line into 2 segments. We'll trim this to this, this to this, go to our trim 1 element to its intersection, this one to this one, this one to this one. I'm doing things a little backwards this time. And then we're going to change this line to green, this line to green, this line to green. So those are all in the background. Now we're done with the drawing portion of this. The last thing we're going to do, actually a couple things actually, we're going to create an additional drawing in this drawing file using the Models Create tool. Models Create is up here in the blue section. We left click on that, give it a second, and you can see we have a default model here right now. I'm going to right click, or actually hit the new model tool. This time we want a design file, 2D. We're going to call this one title block. It's going to be in full scale, and we're just going to say OK. Once we do that, we get a blank screen. We're working in a brand new drawing file now, still in inches, but now you can see we have title block in default, and we're actually working in the title block view here. 2 separate drawings within the same DGN file. In this case, we're working with inches. We're going to create a border that's going to fit inside an 8.5 by 11 sheet for this particular exercise. That border is going to be 10.25 inches long, 7.5 inches tall. So I'm just going to left click with my smart line, move it to the right, key in 10.25, left click and right click. You can see it went off the screen. I'll just do a fit view, kind of zoom out a little bit. I can close out this models tool now. Again, I'll work in line weight 2 so it shows up a little better. And going back, the height of this is going to be 7.5. Pull it back to the left. I'll just hit the enter key, locks the axis, bring it back to this point. That's all we want right now, is just this border. Now we're going to go create another model. This time the model is, click new. This one's going to be a sheet file, 2D. We're going to call it 8.5 by 11, and we're going to rotate that. It's going to show up as an ANSI A size sheet, and just hit OK. Now you'll notice our screen is white. So we're actually showing an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper here now. And what we're going to do is reference in that title block drawing. It's not finished yet, but it will. Anything we do back in that title block drawing will actually show up here. So this last portion of the exercise is to reference in using the reference tool, same as XREF in AutoCAD. We're going to attach. We're going to go to our drawing. It's under my documents, CT120CJ, projects. There's my seed 1. We're actually referencing from the existing drawing that we're in. Hit open. What we see is our default model. Default model is what we're showing our orthographic projections. What we want to bring in is our title block. Our standard view, we can click on top. It's going to come in at full size, no nesting. Nesting refers to if you had references attached to references attached to references. We won't get into that just yet. But if I hit OK, I can actually bring this up. You can kind of see the border show up. Just left click somewhere near the paper. And now what we're doing is bringing that outline that we drew in the title block into this sheet of paper. Our next class, we're actually going to take our orthographic projections and bring them in here at a scaled view, because they're 12 inches by 12 inches. They won't fit at full scale on a full-size sheet of paper. And then we'll work on dimensions. So once you have this title block in place, we can go back, look at our default model, which is our top, front, right side views. We've got our title block view here, just a block and the sheet file with the title block on it. So the next class we will work on putting the orthographic projection into the title block and doing some dimensions and notes and finishing up the title block itself. Okay, thank you.